Hello and welcome back to the Quality Matters Daily Dive, brought to you by Texas Quality Assurance, where quality management gets simplified. I'm Kyle Chambers, and today we are going to be talking about what I believe, and I think most of you would agree, is arguably the most important requirement for an occupational health and safety management system. So today we're going to be diving into the ISO 45001 standard. If you don't know what it is, we've been talking a lot about the 9001 standard. The ISO 45001 standard is ISO's management system standard for occupational health and safety. This was actually originally, I'm not going to say taken, but ultimately replaced what used to be the BSI 18002, BSI's British standards. And when I actually first got into health and safety, the BSI OSAS 18,000 series standards was what was in place. And the requirements are really, really similar between the old 18,000 series and the new 45,001. The great thing is that the new ISO 45001 standard is one of these Annex SL standards. So it lines up with ISO 9001 really, really well. So clause 4 is context in both. Clause 5, leadership. We got some differences there. We might take a little bit of time on a different video to kind of explore some of these differences. But we're going to be looking at, again, what I think is arguably the most important clause. And this deals with employee communication and participation. It's really the heart and soul of an occupational management system. When you think about quality, a quality management system, I think most of us can agree documentation. We have to document how, what, when, why, where we're going to do things, what we did, and all of the necessary data behind it. But for health and safety, if you cannot get the people involved, because this is all behavior driven, quality, while it is behavior driven, is very much the outputs can be inspected and checked and verified. Occupational health and safety, it's a lot more difficult. You can inspect and verify when people are doing the work, but unfortunately, a lot of these health and safety systems, we don't realize there's a problem until someone gets hurt. And that's terrible inspection criteria. Well, no one got hurt, so I guess we're doing good this month. It's kind of a bad metric. So employee participation and communication is absolutely huge and critical for ensuring we're taking better care of our employees, and can provide us a lot of really good metrics along the way. So in yesterday's live stream, we talked a lot about competence training and awareness, and this is huge for health and safety. So let's dive into the standard here. Let me get this pulled up properly here. Here we go. All right. So we have here the ISO 45001 Occupational Health and Safety Management System. This came out in 2018, so it's still fairly new as far as these things go. Again, you probably see very similar to what we've looked at with ISO 9001 so far. Not just a whole lot of difference in structure of the standard, but we're really changing our focus. So I may take a moment here to kind of talk about that. So when I say changing our focus, when you're talking about quality, well, the focus of the entire quality management system is to ensure that we provide a high quality product or service to our customer. Everything's geared towards that one end goal. Now, in order to do that, of course, we have to meet legal requirements and maintain our interested parties on these things. But everything's with that one goal in mind. If we're not providing a product or a service, you really can't have ISO 9001. ISO 45001, on the other hand, is all about ensuring our workers' safety. That's it, ensuring their health and safety. That is the output that we're looking for. So when we're talking about 45,001, everything is driven forward in that direction. So just like with the quality management system, it's kind of hard to have a successful business, successful quality program if you got guys get hurting over here. Well, employee incidents and illnesses, injuries are kind of a secondary piece to quality. So in the safety standard, we kind of look at quality as a second piece there, but we really change our focus. So let's jump back in here to the standard. Clause 5, leadership and work participation. This is where we're going to be camping out for about the next 10 minutes. So let's take a look here. Let me zoom in a little bit for you. And I'll try not to scroll too terribly much. I know how hard that is to watch on these things. We've got a lot of bullet points here for leadership and commitment. Now, Something else we could talk about for a long time, probably will in the future, but we're going to skip past a little bit of leadership and commitment at the moment. We're going to skip past the OHS policy. Not saying they're not important, just not what we're talking about today. And we're going to come down here to 5.4, consultation and participation of workers. When it comes to safety, if your people are not involved, if they do not buy in, if they do not see the value, you do not have a health and safety management system. The best you have is a safety manager and rules. It's not a system. A system is an integration of working components interacting and feeding back and forth with each other. So we want to make certain that our employees are viewing their workplace safety in that same light. So consultation, participation of workers. The organization shall, perfect trifecta of ambiguous words, but it means you have no choice here, establish, implement, and maintain a process or processes for consultation and participation of workers. So consultation means what we are doing, what we're telling to them, what we are informing them. Again, go back and look at competence training and awareness. I even talked about forklift training there. So what are we giving to the employees? But then participation, how do we get it back? This is the tough one. I think we can all agree that it's fairly easy to just rinse folks with a fire hose of safety rules and requirements. But how do you get that legitimate feedback back? It's a tough one. We'll talk about it. But we need to make sure that we are consulting and participating with workers at all applicable levels and functions where they exist, from the workers' representatives, development planning, pretty much across the whole gamut of the business. The organization shall provide mechanisms, time, training, and resources necessary. Makes sense. Provide timely access to clear, understandable, relevant information. Okay, that all makes sense. Determine and remove obstacles or barriers to participation to minimize those that cannot be removed. Okay. And emphasize the consultation for non-managerial workers. This is the key. I mean, so much time is spent on the top management needs and making sure we hit the bottom line, but there's a lot that happens in between. Okay, the worker on the shop floor. So I had an interesting conversation with someone recently. They had a really, really cool technology. We're actually going to be contemplating investing in this for some other projects we've got going on. But it's effectively a hard hat that has integrated camera, microphone, Bluetooth, heads-up display, all sorts of cool stuff for it. Can track biometrics, kind of let you know if the guy is overly exhausted or tired or bad posture, all sorts of fun stuff. And so he was asking me, well, Kyle, how do I get folks to adopt this and use it? And he immediately jumped into the spiel, telling me all of the great things that you would want to sell to the owner of the company, the manager, the CFO, someone along those lines, maybe a safety director for a larger organization. Great sales pitch for those folks. But I looked at him like, you ain't going to get no one in the shop to wear it. And he's like, well, how about I tell them about how it can help prevent their injuries and it can make sure that they come to work safe and healthy every single day. Like, it's really not actually going to influence most folks on the shop floor. And he's like, well, what's going to influence a guy on the shop floor? I think they love the idea of not getting hurt at work. Say, well, people are people. And most of these men and women that are out on the shop floor working, I say shop floor, we could be talking about a construction facility, inspection bay, whatever it may be. I just use shop floor generically. They're all fairly capable, competent folks. They have a good sense and understanding of their own personal safety. And that's actually not the buy-in point for them. Totally true, but it's not the buy-in point for them. He's like, well, what is? So we've got to understand what their problems are. And there's going to be two things that are going to boil down. And this is true with any program you're putting in place, whether we're talking about this cool headset, cool gear technology, or just a simple process procedure on the lockout tagout system. It's got to do two things for them. One, you have to prove to them that you are going to decrease their stress level. So an example, well, if I have to call my super over 4 times a day, he's going to get pretty annoyed talking to me. And I'm going to get tired of having to wait on him to do the work because I got, production that needs to go out the door. So if you can decrease his stress level and make getting the answers he needs easier, you're going to win him over. The other piece is if you can increase their physical comfort or decrease their discomfort, you're going to win them over. So kind of think about these things in your facility. Well, yes, these two examples I'm giving are very generic. I think they work for most shops, but think about your people in your facility. what can you do to get them to buy in? Because the same thing that helps management, mid-management buy in are not the same things that help the folks on the shop floor buy into the process. So what they're saying here is emphasize consultation for non-managerial workers, again, shop floor type guys and gals, is determining the needs and expectations of interested parties. We get that, but it's more ISO language. Trust me, you go and talk about interested parties, you're not going to get a bunch of guys chiming in with feedback there. Establishing the OHS policy. Okay, we need to understand the policy. That's really very critical. Assigning organizational roles, responsibilities, and authorities. You don't think about this a lot, but someone, like I used with the example of communication with a super. Well, he needs to know what he is and is not authorized to do. These things need to be clear. What can I and can't I do? I worked with a facility about a year ago, and they had a lockout tagout program in place, but they gave everyone in the company a tag, but didn't give everyone a lock and didn't train everyone on it. So I'm sitting there kind of scratching my head like, okay, this is awesome that you're wanting everyone to take part in this. That's great. But we didn't really think it out through. Who determines when to lock something out? Who determines when to unlock it? And this is the reason that, lockout, tagout, control of hazardous energy is this huge requirement with OSHA. So they had good intent, but they did not do a good job of detailing exactly what the standard is calling for here, which is assigning roles, responsibilities, and authorities. You need to determine how to fulfill legal requirements. That's a huge one that goes into digging into all of the OSHA CFRs and whatnot. And that determines a lot of your safety requirements. So there's a lot here, and I'm going to kind of glaze through some of it for time's sake. But the big one here is emphasize the participation of non-managerial workers. So yes, we can set up all the rules. We can set up the policy. We're making sure everything matches with the management system. But let's get down to the nuts and bolts of it. We need to determine how we're going to consult and participate with our employees. You need to have a written plan up front of what you're going to do. We need to identify hazards, risks, and opportunities. We've got a tool we call it hazard assessment. It's a really, really awesome tool. Determining the actions to eliminate hazards, also including that hazard assessment tool. Determining competence and training requirements. Fantastic stuff. We've got a podcast episode coming out here real soon where this is really one of the key things we talk about for a lot of the workplace issues and workforce issues going on today is making certain that we have our people trained appropriately for the work they need to do. So you might be saying, okay, well, Kyle, this all sounds good, but you've really not given me anything concrete. So there's some really basic processes that you can do. For one, we need to make certain that we are having regular toolbox talks. Now, there's a variety of different terms for it, but it's the same thing. We're going to have a 15-minute, 5-minute even meeting, and we're going to talk about some safety topic. We're going to talk about something there. Now, it's one thing to say we're going to do this toolbox talk, and we've got this handout that we're going to give, and we're going to make sure someone reads it and talks about it. There's a place for it. And it is a good thing. And I've done it myself. I've got over 100 of these stock documents that I've created for here's forklift training. Here's, PPE, here's glasses, here's hearing protection. You go on and on. They're good conversation starters. And we need to recognize that it is a conversation starter. It's also good to ask someone, what are you working on today in these meetings? Single someone out, especially the person that's tuned out, not paying any attention. That's the most fun ones to do. But ask them, what are they working on today? Great. Tell me one thing that could go wrong. Okay. What's been done already to protect you from it? And they're probably going to mention some guard or something like that. So reemphasize. That's true. It is there. Here's why it's here. Here's the reason it's here. If you ever see it defective, we need to know, and here's why. Another great thing is what we call our good catch card. Good catch card is a really, really simple system. And what the good catch card is we identify really only 2 things, maybe 3 things of data. One, we want every person to do one probably once a week. Okay, so they fill it out once a week. Now, this only takes a few seconds. So the good catch card says, what was a problem I found or a potential problem I identified? And you have to provide your suggestion for a solution. Really cool tool. What it does is when this is implemented and utilized over a several weeks is you're going to get folks shifting their mindset from here's a problem and I'm going to complain about it to here's a problem and I'd like to solve it. And that over the course of a few months really dramatically changes the mindset of the people. And it creates wonderful data for you to track because we all have to have metrics and KPIs in these management systems so you can record how frequently these catch cards are turned in. Now, one thing I like to do as well is I don't ever want to punish someone for not doing it, but I want to incentivize them if they do it. So something as simple as a little Chick-fil-A or Whataburger gift card or, wherever you're from, is if they turned it in, say every week of the month or every week of the quarter, hey, we're going to hand this out and we're going to do it in public. Always give this praise publicly. Another one is what we call our QHC walkthrough, and we're going to do a video on that soon too. But the QHC walkthrough is anyone in a leadership position walking through the shop and identifying some basic things going on, from project identification to checking for calibrations and maintenance on equipment, and then a very small facility walkthrough looking for slips, trips, falls, spills, anything of that nature. But when you do these things, a toolbox talk, the good catch card, the QHC walkthrough, and regular trainings, when you do them on a regular repeat basis, you will root out the problems really without a lot of effort in doing it. And you'll find 3, 4, 6 months later, you're just not putting out the fires that you used to spend your day doing every day. But if you're putting together an occupational health management system, definitely take a look here, and we'll pull it right back up, is want you to go into clause 5.4, consultation, participation of workers. And let's really come down here to letter E, and let's look at all of these things. Let's make sure that we've identified how we're going to do it. We need a written plan. We have a process for identifying hazards in the workplace. Don't worry, I'm going to do another video on hazard identification. I'm going to share some free forms and stuff that we've got for you there. Determining, how this plan is communicated, determining any controls that need to be in place. What are we checking? When are we checking it? And what are we going to do if we find problems? And then how we're going to investigate these things when they occur. Again, we'll do another video in the future as well on accident investigation. And I'll walk you through the very form that I've used as well. But this is the absolute key and heart of a successful management system, is going to be in the employee communication and participation. So if you find this helpful, be certain to like and share. Remember that all of these videos are live streamed, not just to YouTube, but also up on Rumble. So if you're not familiar with Rumble, it's pretty much the same as YouTube, but a little bit easier for content creators and whatnot to post to. So we're going to be streaming all of this up on Rumble. So there's going to be a full library of everything there. So take a look. And if you have any questions, don't hesitate to give me a call personally. You can call us here at the office, and love to hear from you. So y'all take care.